Okay. So we are holding in Sanhedrin. We're on Daf 109A1. And we're on the right side, the two dots on the Hebrew side, on the by the two dots, which is Dor Hafloga. Ein lahem helek le'olam haba. The generation of the dispersion have no share in the world to come, said the Mishnah. So, take a look at note 6. It brings you the pasuk in English of what they did. And the pasuk just says, they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed across the whole earth." Now, if you take a look at that pasuk, it doesn't seem to really say anything that they did so bad. So why are we saying they have no olam haba? From the pashut explanation of the pasuk, you don't see them doing anything too bad that they don't deserve olam haba. Now we're going to see a bunch of things that we're saying they're going to do. That's why they did the avirah. So then the question is, why didn't the Torah say it specifically what they actually did? So some of Parashim want to explain that what they did was so disgusting and so bad that for the honor of Hashem, we didn't mention what they did. Um, okay. Take a look at the end of the note 6, right? Hashem suggests that since their sin was directed in the most egregious way against God, the Torah chose to conceal it for the sake of Hashem's honor. Okay. So now the question is, Mom, what did they do? What did this Dor HaFoga? What did they do? So Amr Dever Bishila. נבנה מגדל ונעלה לרקיע ונכה אותו בקרדומות כדי שיזובו מימיו. They said, let's build a tower, let's go and strike it with axes so that its water will flow. So two explanations over here of what they were trying to do. So the understanding of the Gemara is, according to Shila, is that they went up and they wanted to make a hole in the heavens in order to let water come out. Now, why would they do this? Two reasons. One reason is because they said all we need from God is rain, and the rain is in the heaven. So if we make a hole in the heaven and we let the rain sort of trickle out, we're not going to need Hashem. We're going to have our water supply via our hole in the heaven. Another explanation is that they said, how did Hashem destroy the earth with the Mabul? Remember, this is after the time Hashem says not going to destroy the world with the Mabul anymore. But still, they were worried about it. And they said, how did Hashem bring the Mabul? He gathered a lot of water, and he brought it down all at the same time. But if we make a hole in the water reservoir in Shemayim, then the water will trickle out, and there won't be enough water for Hashem to use to punish us. Okay? So that's what they wanted to do. When they explained this explanation, they laughed about this in Eretz Yisrael. They said, Imken, if so, that they built a tower in order to reach the sky and press the sky still to make a trickle of water. Why was it built in a valley? Livnu achad betura. They should have gone on top of one of the tall mountains, so this way their construction starts higher up, and they can reach the Shemayim, so to speak, and make a hole there, if that was their plan. So it must not be that their plan was to pierce the sky. Elam Amar Biyan Miyah Bar Elazar. Nehleku l'shalosh kitot. They were actually split into three different groups that wanted to do different things with this tower. Nehleku l'shalosh kitot. 109A2. Ahad omeret na'ale ve'neshiv sham. One group said, let us go on the top and we're going to live there, right? Security purposes. The community will be hard to conquer. Perhaps they measured where the Mabul went up to, and they wanted to build a tower that would go higher than where the waters were, so they would be protected, right? Do what they want, and no one can hurt them. Hashem wouldn't be able to punish them because the Mabul water only went up to a certain spot last time. And one said, let's go up and serve Avodah Zarah, right? Many Avodah Zarahs like to be on top of tall mountains. You gotta, do it's seems to be more coveted for the idol, more honorable for the idol to put it on a tall place. And one said, let's go up and make war. Um, Someone explained they didn't say let's go up and fight God, but rather they said let's make a an imposing fortress city, and we'll be able to be on the high point, and which is always easier when dealing with your human enemies. Okay, but some want to say that Behemet that they did want to do an assault on heaven, and they did want to sort of milhamam one way or the other with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Take a look at the note 14 in the second paragraph. Ma'asham intends that although Rabbi Yehuda's view the tower was not built to reach a celestial source of rainwater, the generation dispersion was nonetheless very motivated by the recent cataclysmic flood. Uh, what was it? The first group fearing a second flood sought the safety of a dwelling that would tower above the flood water. Okay, we mentioned that. The second group, which desired to practice out, built the tower as a hedge against divine punishment. That is, they realized that the first flood was caused by interpersonal sins such as robbery, right? And concluded that had their ancestors sinned only against God, he would not have destroyed the world. Therefore, they intended for everyone to dwell in the vicinity of the tower in one harmonious brotherhood, thereby allowing them to worship idols with impunity. The third group planned to wage war against God himself on the top of the tower, either figuratively or in their folly, literally. So you have these different groups of what they were doing up there. Okay. Now says the Gemara. Zu she'omeret na'aleh v'neshev sham. Those who said, let's go live there, which wasn't the worst sin, right? They just wanted to sort of keep themselves safe, maybe live in harmony. Hefitzem Hashem. Hashem dispersed them. Hashem made them go out throughout the land. Okay? That's let's go up and make a war, so to speak, against God or against people. Na'asu kufim v'ruchot v'shidim v'dilin. They became apes. They became ruchot, spirits. They became shedim, demons, and lilin. And they became lilins. So Rashi explains in note 16 that ruchot have neither body nor form, right? So take it like a ghost, right? Casper the ghost or something like that. No body, no form. Shedim have a human form. They eat and drink as people do. And lilin also have human form, but also have wings, right? So these are the different things that these people were turned into. You thought you were going to fight against Hashem, you will now become nothings. Those let's go up and do what is it? Kisham bala Hashem safat kol haaretz. And Hashem confused the language of the whole earth. And Hashem made them all have different languages now. They all wanted to be united again with one Avodah Zarah. Now there's a million different Avodah Zarah. Everybody's confused. Everyone's language is different. No one is like each other. Tanya, Rabbi Natan Omer, Kulam l'shem v'kachavim nitkavenu. The truth is, they all wanted to do it for Avodah Zarah, even though each one had a different idea. But I'm gonna say in the end, the common factor between all three groups was that they wanted to do Avodah Zarah. How do we know? It says over here, Na'aseh lanu shem. They said, let's go make a name for ourselves. We have another part in the Torah where it says, V'shem Elohim achirim lo taskiru. Don't mention the names of Avodah Zarah. So the word Shem over here means Avodah Zarah, and the Shem over there by us, over here by the case of the Dor Flaga, also has to mean Avodah Zarah. Mala halan Avodah Chavim, Avkan Chavim. So really, they all wanted Avodah Zarah. That's why they were all punished. Now, some were worse in Avodah Zarah, some were less worse. Whatever the degrees in heaven, they judged them, and they got punished. Rabbi Yochanan, Migdal Shelish Nisraf. One third of the tower was burnt. The top third. The top third was burnt. Okay? Shilish Nivla. One third was swallowed up. So different opinions of who was in what third. The third of the tower, corresponding to the group that sought to attack God, sank into oblivion. A fate that later befell another contentious group, Korach and his followers. So the bottom third was those who wanted to attack Hashem, and they were sunken in. Okay, and the top third was to the group that wanted to worship idols was burned and utterly destroyed. And the middle third was those who wanted to protect themselves. And that shirish kayam, the third that was burnt, the top, third bottom was swallowed in, and third in the middle, that remains. Why do we have it remained? So warning, as the future generations would contemplate similar action. Amar Rabbi Yohanan, Amarav, Avir Migdal Mish Meshakeach. The airspace of the tower causes forgetfulness even today. Meaning that site of the tower, which made everybody forget their language and everybody dispersed and all that, still has that power today. Amar Rav Yosef, Rav Yosef says, Bavel ubursif siman ra Torah. Bavel and Bursif are a bad omen for Torah. These two towns are causes forgetfulness because they're located within the site of the Migdal, of this tower. My Bursif, what is this name Bursif? Amarabasi, Bor Shafi, a pit emptied of its contents, that the person who comes to this area, basically all his Torah leaves him. That's what the Migdal, that's what this tower does to a person. So because the bad character traits that are in that place, effect. Okay, we finished with the Dara Floga. Now we start with Anshe Sodom, the people of Sodom. We all know Sodom, and I think the world knows Sodom. There are words in English like sodomy, and that gets its shirish from Sodom. All over the world, this is. So Tani Rabbanon, Anshe Sodom, Ein Lehem Chelik Lo Elam Haba. They have no Elam Haba. Shnemar V'Anshe Sodom Ra'im. They were very bad. V'Chata'im LaHashem Me'od. They sinned to Hashem a lot. Ra'im, they were very bad. Ba'olam Hazeh. V'Chata'im L'Olam Haba. They sinned in the next world, meaning that they are in both worlds destroyed. Amar Yehuda. Ra'im, when they said they did bad, Bigufan. It means they did bad with their body. Chata'im, when it says they did sins, they did it with their money. They did sins with their money. So whatever is my father said, whatever is listed second is the worse sin. Okay, so in this idea, chataim, they sin worse with their money. Ra'im means their body, right? According to this chat, Begufan dichtiv. How you know the word ra'im means that they sin with their body? It says ve'ech sehar agadol azot v'chatati le'Elohim. Yosef HaTzadik said to Eshe Potiphar, how can I make such a sin and I will have sinned against Hashem? So you see, and she was trying to make him sin with his body. And he uses the Lashon Ra'ah. So you see, Ra'im means sins with body. Chata'im, b'mamonam dichtiv. How do you know that Chata'im means with money? Because it says, V'haya v'cha chet. It is talking about in Shemitah year, or before Shemitah year, someone doesn't want to loan money to somebody because he knows the Shemitah comes, it's going to be canceled out the loan. You don't give the person a loan, it's going to be considered a sin against you. So you see the word v'chachet, chet, chataim, it's talking about money. Then the pasuk says La Hashem, they sin to Hashem. What does La Hashem mean? Zu birkat Hashem. It means they would curse Hashem, right? Bless Hashem, but as a euphemism that they would curse Hashem. Me'od, they did it a lot. Shemit kavenim b'choteim. I mean they thought about in sin. They had kavanah to sin, not just they did it, the desires and their lust, but rather there was intentional gestures of defiance of contempt for Hashem. B'matni tatana, we got a tana taught in the bright, the opposite. Ra'im, when it says ra'im, it means they sinned with their money. B'mamonam, chata'im begufan. According to this other opinion, their body sins were worse than their monetary sins. Ra'im b'mamonam. I know the word ra'im means with their money. Dichtiv. Right? If you look away from the poor person that needs help and you don't give them, and it's bad. So Ra'im means with money, you're not giving him tzedakah. Begufan dichtiv is the end of the pasuk where it says Eshe Potiphar. It says v'chatati le'Elohim. So it says chatati le'Elohim, sin to God, and it's talking about doing the sin with the body. Okay, La Hashem zu birkat Hashem. They cursed Hashem. Me'od. When it says me'od, it means they also killed. There's a lot of killing going on, a lot of bloodshedding going on in Sodom. Shneimar, Naki shafach Menashe b'Yerushalayim harbe me'od. It says Menashe made a lot of innocent bloodshed, exceedingly me'od, in Jerusalem. So the word me'od over here means he killed, and over there also means that in Sodom, when it says they sinned a lot, they also killed people. Tanu Abanan 109.84. Tanu Abanan Anshe Sodom lo nidka'u elu bishvil tova shehishpia lahem hakadosh baruch hu. All the bad that happened in Sodom is because of all the good Hashem gave them. Meaning, they had it too good. The person who has it too good, he ends up doing bad things. Umakitiv, what does it say regarding them? A land from which bread comes forth, and instead turned into scorched earth. It was a path. Its very stones yielded satisfied. Its very dust was gold. Natim lo yadu ain velo shezafatu ain ayam. It was a path unknown to any robber, unobserved by any spy. Lo yidilchu menei shahatz lo ada alav shahal. Mighty beasts had not trodden, no lion ever transversed it or never passed it. Amo, people of Sodom said, Mechim acha, shed min yatzalachim. We have a land where bread comes from it. Va'afrot zahavlo, and the dust is gold. Why do we need travelers? Why do we need tourists? Why do we need foreigners? Why do we need migrants? Why do we need these people here? We're good. We're a self-sufficient economy. Stop getting involved with us. We don't need you. They're only coming to be parasites and to take our money, right? Some of the communism thought process over here. These migrants are coming only to take our money. But let's get rid of this whole thing of having foreigners come here. And how did they get punished in the end? A stream burst out of its normal course and was cast upon the town that had been forgotten by the wayfarers' feet. They were banished, consigned to eternal disgrace. So people stopped going there, and they got punished. Take a look in note 39. A translation of this verse follows Rashi, who explains that Hashem causes destruction of Sodom by diverting a stream of fire and brimstone from its heavenly course, raining it down upon Sodom, and utterly destroying the town. So kind of like a meteorite or an asteroid that came out of heaven, right, out of the skies, and flew down to Sodom and destroyed it. That's how it says the Sodom got destroyed right here in our Gemara. And the point is, since it was forgotten by the wayfarers' feet, meaning people stopped going to Sodom because of its they weren't very hospitable for people. So people stopped going there, and that caused their destruction. Okay, let me just see something. Okay, fine. Let's go a little further. Darish Rava. My dichtiv. My dichtiv. What is it written? Ad ana totetu al ish teratzechu chulechem kekernatui gader hadehuya. Pasuk in Tehillim that says, "How long will you plot treacherously against me? Will all you murder with leaning wall, with toppled fence?" What does this mean? Talk about Sodom. When they saw somebody come with money, they would seat such a person next to the leaning wall. They're giving him some respect. Come, sit. Meanwhile, he was under a leaning wall. And then they would push the wall down upon him. Right? He was not expecting that. And they would go behind the wall. They didn't hit him. And the wall would come down and kill him. Then they would come and take his money. Right? But the other says, they selected wayfarers that had no ears, had no people to yarshin them. Under especially enacted Sodomite law, the property of such people passed to the government. This approach lends some semblance of legality to their heinous actions. Okay. דרש רבה, מה דכתיב? חתר בחושך, בתים יומם, חתמו לעמו, לא ידעו אור. In the darkness he borrows under houses. By day they seal themselves in, never knowing the light. Melamed. When they saw somebody come rich, they would give him this fragrant substance known as a farsimon, which is balsam. And they would give it to each one. And the victims would place these costly bailments in their depositories where they safeguard their own money. They would then come, the Sodomite thieves who gave them these balsams, who gave them these strong spice things, they would come and sniff out the location like a dog sniffing out the scent. And they return word evening, they howl like a dog and go around the city. So then they would take all the money. They would take all the money. So basically, they gave this guy some perfume, some balsam type of substance, fragrant substance. They say, "Hey, it's for you. Whatever. Watch it for us." Or, "Hey, it's for you. Special thing." And he would take it, and he would put it with all his other money and stuff like that. And then the night they would come and smell it out like a dog, and then they would steal everything that was there. The pasuk in Eov says, they would allow the naked to spend the night unclothed, no garment to shield against the cold. They drive away the orphan's donkey, take the widow's ox in pledge. They move back boundary markers of stolen flocks and take them out to graze. He will be taken to the burial ground, be hastened to the mounds. Okay, so a lot of different psukim here. And let's see if we can get some explanation over here. Okay. Let's take a look. Darash Rabbi Yossi Mitzipori. Rabbi Yossi was explaining what the Sodomites did regarding the darkness he borrows under the houses with the balsam, the smell, and the substance. That night, there were 300 burglaries in Tzipori. Basically, they learned from Rabbi Yossi's drasha of how to steal. Atu, the victims came angry. They come into and they accosted Rabbi Yossi and they said to him, "You're teaching people how to be thieves and teaching them better ways to steal." Amar lahu, Rabbi Yossi said to them, "Did I know that thieves are coming to my lecture?" So two ways. I have to say, I didn't know thieves that come here, and I thought everybody was sneaking would come here. Or he's saying, I didn't think only thieves come here. And if you were here also, you would have heard what I told him, and you would have taken the proper precautions and not accepted this substance of spice. And obviously, you guys didn't come, right? This is always a chacham's dilemma if everything can be shared. In fact, in halacha, there are halachot that tell us that you cannot share this halacha in public. Someone comes and asks you, you can paskin for them. But in public, when giving a share, you can't mention this thing. So there are times where certain things can't be said in public, and certain times things could be said in public. And you have to make that cheshbon. You have to look, can you or can't you? Ki ka nach nafshed Rabbi Yossi. When Rabbi Yossi passed away, the gutters of Tzipori poured forth blood. The Rabbi Yossi did not only deliver a sermon in Tzipori, but rather he actually lived there. And others explain this extraordinary occurrence was a sign from heaven to show the people of Tzipori that they had been wrong to give musar to the saintly Rabbi Yossi for his lecture. If they suffered a wave of burglaries, it was their own fault, not Rabbi Yossi. Yerushalmi says this blood was a siman of the schar that Rabbi Yossi got, because even during the Roman persecution against the Jews, Rabbi Yossi continued to help people do Brit Milah. Okay, so it was a good sign for him. Amre. Some of the rules of the Sodom government. The it le had tura. Someone who has one ox, mar'e had yoma. He must graze all the oxen for one day. Diletle, he has none, then eight today. He should watch it for 2 days. So basically, a lot of the Mepharshim explain is that the one who owns no oxen presumably has no land to plow, and so must be idle much of the time. And basically, he is not a non-contributing member to society, and as such makes him a parasite. So we don't have parasites in our community, and we put everybody to work. No one is not allowed to not work, because that just takes away from the government, takes away from people living in a peaceful society. So you don't have any oxen, you're going to do double the work, right? But at the same time, it's not letting him pursue a livelihood. It's not letting him make money. They're not letting him try to get anything. They're just saying you're a parasite to get productive. Okay, that was the rule. There was once a certain orphan, the son of a widow, who had no oxen. So they brought him oxen. They said, "Watch it for 2 days, you lazy bum." Azo shaklinu vekatlinu. He couldn't believe all this is happening to him. Right? He's an orphan, son of a widow. He doesn't have anything. He's trying to make ends meet, and they're giving him all these things to do. So he went and he killed the oxen. He then said to his neighbors, if you had one ox, take one skin. Whoever didn't have any oxen, nishkol today mashke, let him take two skins. Basically, take the hides of the animal. If you had one ox, take one. And if you had no oxen, take two. So Amalei, they said to him, "My hi, what's this ridiculous thinking? You don't own it if you don't have anything." Amalei, he says to them, "Sof dina k'tchilat dina," just like you said in the beginning. You said if one person doesn't have ma tchilat dina, the etla Torah, mar'eh had yomam, someone who has one ox, watches for one day, the etla Torah, mar'eh Torah yomeh, doesn't have any, he watches two. I'm sof dina, so too at the end. Etla had Torah, lishko had. If you have one, you take one. The etla, if you don't have one any, Torah lishko, the etla Torah, lishko today. So then you take two skins. So he was doing the reverse logic on them to show them how idiotic their laws were. For the people of Sodom, whoever had to cross the water, they had to pay one zuz when using the ferry. But if you were not using the ferry boat, you would have to pay two zuz. And some Mepharshim explain that they said as follows: two reasonings over here why you have to pay more when not using the ferry, when you would swim through it. They would say you're coming out with a lot of water. You went into the water, you're so close, everything got soaked with water. Now you're coming out with more water than if you would have gone on the ferry. So now you owe us more money. Others want to explain that they said, "Ooh, you went into the water. It's a dangerous place. Something could have happened, and since you put yourself in sakana, we're going to fine you." All right. Obviously, the guy went into the water because he couldn't pay the toll, right? And he had to come across. But fine the guy even more. The Havalet Torah Dilivne. Someone who had a row of bricks. Everyone would come and take one brick. And then when he wanted to get his money back, each of the Sodomites would say, Ana hadishkale. I only took one piece. What do you want from me? Nothing. Havasha de tume o shamke. If a person had spread out garlic onions, he wanted to dry them out. Everyone came and took one. Amalei, he would then want to get his money back, and they would say to him instead, what did I take? I only took one. Right? That's like the person who goes into the grocery store and he starts eating the grapes. I'm tasting it. Takes 2-3 grapes. The next guy comes and takes 2-3 grapes. By the time everybody tastes it, there's no more grapes left. Right? That's what they did in Sodom. There were 4 judges in Sodom. Shakrai is full of lies. Shakrurai was even more lying. Zaifai, he's the guy who falsified everything, a forger. and umatzli dina, and the perverter of justice. Each one worse than the other. Now, what were some of the crazy rules they had in Sodom? This is disgusting, but let's take a look. Someone struck his fellow's wife, and she was pregnant, and caused her to miscarry. They would come to court. Amrele, the judges would say to the husband, Yahaveh nihale, you should give your wife to the attacker. Your wife has to be with the one who hit her and made her miscarry. Why? Dinabarat nihalich, because he got rid of that baby. So now it's his job to impregnate her and give you the baby back. Right? This was the craziness of Sodom. If someone chopped off the ear of his fellow's donkey, the judge would say to the owner of the donkey, give your donkey to the damager and let him take care of the donkey until the donkey grows back his ear, which is never going to happen. Right? So they're giving it all the time to the criminal. They're giving him more and more good stuff, right? Mine is somewhat of liberal, liberal policies and laws. There's a person who wounded his fellow. Amalei, the judge will say to him, Havla agra, give him his wage. The shakal lachdema, because he did bloodletting for you. So this guy hit you, he made you bleed. Well, you would have gone to the bloodletter, and here he did it for you. So now you owe him money. So some of the stories. Okay. For a tourist to pass on the ferry boat, you have to pay 4 zuz. You would have to pay 8 zuz. Zimna hada atahu koves. There was a launderer came to Sodom. Ikla lehatam. He happened to come there, and I'm going to lay this said to him, Ha adabazuzeh, give us 4 zuz. You cross with the ferry boat. Abelud launderer said to them, Anav mayabri. I didn't go on the ferry boat. I crossed in the water. I'm going to lay. They said to him, You can have timanaya. Give us 8. Because you went into the water, you used more water, you were in danger. We have to find you. Lo Yahir. The launderer did not give them any money. So Padyuhu, they started beating him up, causing him to bleed. Atala coming to the yard. They came to the judges. The judge said to them, Havla agrad shakilach dama. You have to pay them for making you bloodletting. Utmanayazuze the avarat bimaya. And you have to pay them the 8 zuz because you crossed in the water. So basically, just injustice after injustice. Story now of Eliezer. Evid Abraham Itrami Hatam. Eliezer once happened to be in Sodom. Padyuhi, someone came and wounded him. And the Azra explains that Eliezer happened to have a monetary claim against one of the residents of Sodom. When Eliezer asked for his money, the debtor struck and injured him. So he went before the judges of Sodom. Amrele said to Eliezer, give this guy who hit you money because he did bloodletting for you. So what did Eliezer do? Shakal gilala. He took a stick or a stone. Padyuhi ihu lidayana. And he struck the judge with it. Amar Mahai. The judge said, what are you doing? Amalek, Eliezer said, Agra dinafik li minach. That wage that is coming to me from you, meaning you said if you hit somebody and cause them to bleed, you have to pay them. The guy has to pay them to getting because he did bloodletting for me. So I just hit you, and I made you bleed. Now you owe me money. Now the money that you owe me, give it to the guy who hit me, right? And my money stays where it is. Okay, Eliezer is able to manipulate the system for their craziness for themselves. They had a certain bed in Sodom. And they would have guests sleep on it. When they had a tall guest, and they put him on this bed, and his legs would dangle off, or his head would dangle off. Gazele. They would amputate. They would amputate. They would kill him. They would basically shorten him. They would say, "Oh, this bed, you don't look good in it." And they cut him off, and then say, "Ah, now you look good in the bed." Ay ay ay. Mat'in le. Kigutz. When he was short, mat'in le. they would stretch him till his limbs were pulled out of place. And they would say, now you look good in the bed. So one time Eliezer was there. They said to him, go lay down on the bed. He said to them, I can't lay down. I made an eder. I never lay down on the bed since my mother passed away. That was the promise that I took as sign of perpetual mourning. And Eliezer avoided the trap that was laid for him to shorten him, whatever it was. When a pauper happened to come to them, everyone would give him a coin, but they wrote their name on the coin. But they would not give him any bread. So eventually he would die. When he would die, everyone would come and read the coins and find their coin and take it back. So there wasn't really tzedakah. It was more of a way to get their money back. They made an agreement, a law amongst the Sodomites. Anyone who invited someone, a non-Sodomite, to a wedding feast, they would take off his garments. There was a wedding. Eliezer happened to come there to Sodom. And no one give him bread because of the law of not feeding guests, and not feeding travelers, and not feeding foreigners, not feeding migrants. So they didn't give him bread. So he needed food. So he sees a wedding. However, when he came to dine, he sat at the end at a long row of tables. He sat at the end. So someone saw and said, who invited you here? Basically, if a son might invite you, he would take off your clothing, take off his clothing. So Eliezer said to the guy, you want to know who invited me? You invited me. So here, everyone sees them talking. He's the first guy talking. And they see him talking. They're going to think it's true. So this guy got scared. And he ran out. As we say. So took his garment and he ran outside. And everybody who came to ask him, he kept saying the same thing, you. And Ad didn't until they all departed the wedding hall. He was able to eat his meal all by himself and in peace. Havai Livita was a certain maiden. The Havatka Mapeka Lifta Lania Behatzba. She would bring out bread in her pitcher to feed the poor in Sodom. So, it was hiding in the pitcher, so no one see her taking bread out of the house. But there was this poor guy, and he kept living. He should have died already. So he milked up. So they wanted to see what was happening, and they discovered it, that she was giving it. The Midrash says this was Lot's daughter. Shafuya Dufsha. So they smeared her with honey. And placed her on top of the city wall. And the beast came and they devoured her. It's a lot. Don't read Rabbah al Iske Riva, on the affair of the maiden, the extreme cruelty of Sodom to one of their own is what caused them to be destroyed. Okay, so those are the story of Sodom. We now continue with the Meraglim. Meraglim, Ein Lahem Chelek Lo'ilam Haba. Ein Lahem Chelek Lo'ilam Haba. שניהם ימותו אנשים מוצאי דיבת הארץ לרעה במגפה, וימותו, they died, בעולם הזה, במגפה לעולם הבא. Now, come to עדת קורח. עדת קורח. אין להם חלק לעולם הבא, שנאמר, ותכת עליהם הארץ, and the land covered them over, that's בעולם הזה. ויעבדו מתוך הקהל, and they were lost from the congregation, לעולם הבא, דברי רבי עקיבא. This is the words of רבי עקיבא. אז הוא אומר, עליהם אומר הכתוב, אדוני באמת, מחיה, Hashem puts them down and takes them back up, meaning that they will have Olam Haba, they will come back. Now we have another rabbi, not just Rabbi Eliezer, we have Yehuda ben Betera. He also says You know what it says there? You telling me they got lost from the congregation. Arehin kaveda hamitbakeshet. They're like a lost article that is searched for. Shinema ta'iti kaseh ovevakesh avdecha kivitutecha lo shachachti. We didn't forget the mitzvah. I have gone astray like a lost sheep. Seek out your servant, for I have not forgotten your commandments. So basically, he's saying just like the mitzvah Shabbat Avedah to return a lost article, so too is Adat Korah. Yes, they were lost. Yes, they're punished in this world, but Olam Haba, they will be back. So that you have a human and Eliezer that holds that that Korach will be back. Okay, it says in Pasuk Vayikach Korach. What did he take? He took bad for himself. A lot of times when bad things happen to people, they take it for themselves. They cause themselves to get into this bad situation. They like to blame everybody else, though. Okay, Korach. Why is his name Korach? Shenaseh Korach Israel. He made a bold spot. The word Korach it comes in the lashon of a bold spot, and he caused a bold spot causing a lot of families to be destroyed in amongst the Jewish people. Okay, Shenasa Kol Israel. Ben Yitzhar, Ben Shetrich Alav Kol Ketorahim. That he was a son who excited the entire world against himself with anger as fierce as the sun in the noontime. Okay, Ben Sheikah Shene Molidav. Son of Kahat implies that Korach will set the edge, Shehikaha, of the teeth of those who gave birth to him. They got embarrassed. He brought shame to his distinguished ancestors. Ben Levi, Ben Shanasa Levaya, Gehenna. He made an escort for Gehenna because those people who went with him into the swallowing of the earth, they were his escort to Gehenna. So the Gemara says, "So this should now Ben Yaakov." Why did the pasuk stop over there? It should have said Ben Yaakov, and we would have said Ben Sha'akav Atzmo Gehenna, a son who caused himself to fall head over heels into Gehenna. So why didn't we say Ben Yaakov or Shobal Yitzchak? You know why? Because Yaakov bikesh Hamil Atzmo. Yaakov daven that his name shouldn't be attached to this. What's the difference if his name is attached to it or not? We all know that Levi is the son of Yaakov, so it is related to Yaakov. You're not hiding that fact. So they want to explain. Want to explain is that Yaakov said, "I didn't want them to think that that's the way I taught them to behave, right? That's the way I taught them to behave. Don't put my name to me. Don't think it's associated with my behavior and the chinuch, the education that I gave them. That I don't want." Yaakov bishagesh atzmo. שנאמר בסודם על תבוא נפשי בקהלם אל תחד כבודי. Okay? בסודם על תבוא נפשי, into the conspiracy we know, so enter the Elu Meraglim. This is about the Meraglim. What about the Meraglim? Right, the Meraglim, you sent the 10 spies, right? The tribe of Levi was not involved in the Meraglim. The tribe of Shimon played no special role. The Mahashah says there's a tradition that the Shimon tribe instigated the spies' rebellion. And for that, Shafat Behori, right? So that reason, Yaakov associated the incident with his tribe. So by Shimon, no one should go in them. This is the Adat Korach. Okay, so Yaakov Avinu didn't want that his name should be associated, that they should think that he would sort of allow such behavior. Okay, the pasuk says Datan Sha'avar Adat El. We transgressed the laws of God by opposing Moshe, Hashem's chosen messenger. Avinam She'ibir Atzmo Ma'asot Tshuva, who fortified himself against repenting. Ve'on She'yashab Aninut, who sat in mourning. On Aninut. Pelet, On ben Pelet. Shinasu Lo Pelaot, miracles were performed for him. Bnei Reuven, Ben Shara, Behivin, one who saw and understood. A little bit about the story of On ben Pelet. On ben Pelet, Ishto Hitzilatu, his wife saved him. Amrale, she said to him, Ma nafkalach mina. What will you gain from it? She didn't tell him, you crazy head, you imbecile. She didn't say anything. She said, let's talk about it. What are you going to gain from this rebellion of Korah? If Moshe is going to be winning, you're going to be his student. If Korah, when you're still going to be his student, you're going to be in the same station. Amar Owen said to his wife, Ma'avet, you're correct. What shall I do? I was part of the liberation. When I gave my word to them, she said to him, Yadana dechula kedishta kedishta ninhu. We know that they are very big kadosh people. They're all modest, they're saintly, and they wouldn't approach me if they would see my hair or they think that we are not holy people. Amar le, said to him, Tuv da'ana b'tzilelach, turn back, I shall save you. Ishkiteh hamra. She gave him wine to drink, and caused him to become drunk. Va'agnite gava'e, and then put him to bed inside their tent. Otva al bava, she sat at the entrance, ustarta lemizya, and let down her hair. Called da'ata hazya. I remember Korazubu came, saw her sitting at the entrance of the covered hair, and said, "What? You can't look at her." And it must be that if she's going around covered hair, guess what? Then On is not such a big tzaddik, and he cannot be part of our rebellion against against my against Moshe. We cannot have him part of our group. He's not religious enough, right, to fight Moshe Rabbeinu. So they all went away. And by the time that he woke up, Korach's whole assembly swallowed up. So a couple of points. Number one, sometimes it's best not to be involved, not to get involved, not to be there. You're not sure if it's the right thing to do. You stay away, right? A wife is very important. Is the Chaim Shmulevitz says in the Sichos Musar, Sod Gadol B'Yitzira. There's a great secret in the creation is that Hashem made it that a wife is able to sniff out the chisronos, the lackings and the problems of her husband. And so much so, says Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, that if a wife doesn't mention them to her husband and she lets it slide, she will get punished for that as well, because that's the way Hashem created the world, is for a wife to be able to see this. Remember Arush in his Sefer Garden of Peace for the men, he says the same exact idea, right? That the woman is acting only that way because Hashem made her act that way, and there's a when she goes against her husband and stuff like that. And so here we have a wife who points out the issues, and she points it out very finely, very logically. She doesn't fight with On, doesn't say you're an idiot and you're doing stuff wrong and stuff like that. She knows how to approach it, and she puts him out of play, right? And he survives. But on the other hand, you have Korach's wife. Korach's wife said to him, Hazeh mai kabid Moshe. See what Moshe is doing. He made himself king. And he gave his brother Aaron to be the high priest. And his nephews are all the deputies of the high priest. If Truma comes, give it to the Kohen. If Maaser comes, the Shiklu Atun, which you guys can take the Levium. Amari says, give 1/10 to the Kohen. Ve'od, the Gayezle, and Moshe also made you shave off your hair. Part of the process to make the first Kohanim was all had to cut off their hair. And he made a joke out of you. For he cast his eye upon your hair. That seems to be, she said, that you had a nice hair on you, and Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want it on you because you look too nice and too attractive. So he made you cut it all off, right? He made a joke out of you. She said to Korach said to his wife, but Moshe also did this. He also cut off his hair, his whole body, because he was a Levi. Amrale, she said to him, since the entire scheme is going to lead to his greatness, you know what? I'll take one with the team, just to show people that I'm also with them. I'll suffer some embarrassment, so people wouldn't say that I'm only embarrassing them. But at the end of the day, he's still getting all the power from that move. The odd, the kamar l'chuav the ticheltem. Moses said to make a single thread of techelis. If techelet is good for the mishra for one string, so take the whole garment techelet and with that clothe all of your colleagues. Why are we using one string on the tzitzit? Right? The midrash says she said, "Oh, the whole thing is made techelet. We don't need anything." Right? She's picking on all these things, and she is riling up her husband. Okay, and that led him to be swallowed up with her and everybody else into the ground. That's what we have. What it says in Mishlei. What does it say? Chochmot, chochmot nashim banta beta. Okay, a wisdom of the woman builds her house. The woman is the one who keeps the family together. The woman is the one who keeps the husband in check and in place, and she builds her house. She has her future. Zu ishto shel On ben Pelet. That was On ben Pelet. Then the pasuk continues and says, "Ve'ivelet beyadea tehesenu." But the foolish one destroys it with her hands. Zu ishto shel Korah. She herself caused her downfall to happen by foolish counsel. Uh, she caused that she would be destroyed and be swallowed up. So someone in the shir, after the shir, came over on Shabbat and said, "So is that to say that men are always sort of bad, and they need the woman to sort of put them on the right track?" So I wanted to say, but I meant, I think we all know, and we all could pretty much agree that the derech klal, generally speaking, a man's Yetzer Hara is a lot more than a woman's Yetzer Hara. Okay, and as such, the woman does have the ability, usually, in the general speaking, to put the man on the right path. Obviously, we're assuming that the woman is coming from a good family and a good home, and she understands, and she has a better connection to Hakadosh Baruch Hu, and stuff like that. Where men has more yitzhara, more issues, and more stuff like that. However, like Korach's wife, sometimes you can have a wife that someone's gonna have a woman who has more problems and more problematic, and it could be worse for the husband that way. And I think that's why, with their cloud, generally speaking, when people are dating, and I'm a very big proponent for this, that when you date, it can't be the guy is like no kippah, no kosher, and he's looking for a rebbitzin to marry. It's never gonna work. But at the same time, the man goes to yeshiva, the boy's in yeshiva, the boy's learning and stuff like that, and he's looking for a girl who might be, maybe slightly more religious than him. You should never, in my opinion, I've been developing this opinion for a while. I don't think a man should ever marry a girl who is, so to speak, a little less religious than him, because it's not going to help build the religiosity together. The woman has to be, in my opinion, either at the same level or slightly above, not too much above, because then they're not going to be able to be compatible, right? And they need to be either closely on the same religious level, or she should be at least slightly more. That would probably be more ideal. This way, together, she will pick him up, and he doesn't pick him up from far. He's right there. He just needs to be a little bit put on the right path. And this way, they will be leading into a better and better, what's it called, service to Kadosh Baruch Hu and building a Bayit Neman B'Yisrael. Anyway, that's my take from this On ben Pelet and the wife of Korach. Okay, so this is where we're getting up to this week. Zat Hashem, we have a few more dafim over here, and before we know it, we'll Zat Hashem be done with Masechet Sanhedrin. I think was a 3-year journey. Okay, I'll put it off.